Chiefs Kingdom, the first round of the 2026 NFL Draft has come to an end. The Chiefs made some polarizing decisions. Let's talk about it. If you find any value in this video, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel.
So the Chiefs had pick number 9, Steve, and they said, look, it's not enough. We got to trade up. We got to go to number 6. We were convinced it was going to be for Jordan Tyson, maybe. We were convinced Ruben Bain, he was on the board. Tyson was on the board. And then all of a sudden, it comes through that we have traded up. We have given up pick number 9, pick 74, and pick number 148 to the Cleveland Browns to jump up to number 6. And we took Mansoor Delane, cornerback from LSU, Steve. And look, I think that was a crazy, unexpected happening right there in front of the world. I think Chiefs fans in the chat freaked out. I bet X was blowing up. I bet people were riding in the street.
Right.
It seemed like Mansoor Delane was a guy you could have gotten at number 9.
You want a guy, you got to go find a way to get him. And, we just relied on our data analytics and said, like, the Saints would be likely to take the lane there just because of losing the 2 corners the last 2 years. And, again, similar predicament. So just went up there and got that guy.
And I think what's stinging to everybody, they don't dislike the player. I don't dislike Mansoor Delane at all. I think he's a hell of a football player.
Yeah.
But it's the giving up the round 3 pick 74 and the round 5 148.
Absolutely. To me, it was the positional value of cornerback in this draft. I felt like it was deep. I didn't feel like that you needed to take that in the top 10. I thought at the earliest you might start looking at a cornerback at pick 29, like a Chris Johnson or someone like that. But the top 10, trading up, losing draft capital, that stings a little bit. And it wasn't cheap. It was not cheap. Like you said, you had to give a 3rd-round pick and a 5th-round pick. But Mansoor Delane is a top-tier shutdown corner by most metrics. People think that's what he's going to be in the league, and he's going to be an immediate impact player. And the Chiefs, obviously, this is tied directly to Trent McDuffie being traded away. It's tied directly to Jalen Watson not being here anymore. The Chiefs had to do something to fill that hole, and I think Brett Veach, Andy Reid, and Steve Spagnuolo thought this was the smartest route to go. The only questionable thing to me is the trade-up. Did they have to trade up for Mansoor Delane? I don't personally think they did. I know that the team feels otherwise. Brett Veach, Andy Reid, they feel like they had to get that guy. Maybe there's a world where they did. But to me, I feel like they could have got him at 9. I thought if they traded up, it was going to be to 6 to get Jordan Tyson. But it was Mansoor Delane.
Yeah, look, we got Noah Williams last year. We took him a little bit earlier than people thought. And Noah Williams, people actually want him to play earlier. He's a dog. He's really good at press. He can get up. He can change a defense. That was going to be the plan to replace Trent McDuffie. But when Jalen Watson walks, you lose Josh Williams. You have to do something because I don't think the Chiefs think Christian Fulton is the long-term solution. Hell, the guy can't even really get on the field.
Right.
So now you've got a number 1-esque corner in Noah Williams, and now you've got the best corner in this draft, Mansoor Delane. He was my number 1 corner. At one time, I was kind of fading Jamon McCoy there because I thought he was a little more physical. But once that knee stuff come out with McCoy, he now fell completely out of round 1. And so I thought he fit a lot better than even Chris Johnson, who went there late in the 1st round. And I just don't think he played enough press for their liking. He's more of a zone guy. So look, I think that Mansoor Delane is a hell of a football player. He's my number 1 corner. He was my number 10 player on my big board. He's a fluid, Vic Fangio type corner. He pattern matches receivers with ease. He's a playmaker who can trigger on the ball very, very quickly. Go back and watch his Marshall tape back in 2024, I believe that's where it was. He's elite transition skills, very good at route recognition. He's a physical, mean tackler. He had 38 stops in 2023 through 2025. He played a lot of big competition there at LSU. He's got versatility to play all over. He can play in the slot. He can play outside. I think where his cons are for me is that he's a little bit slender. He can get bullied by X receivers, just like Trent McDuffie did. I think that maybe sometimes that can show up at the catch point a little bit down the field. And then sometimes he gets a little too reactive. So he'll get caught maybe undercutting a route or two and he just gets lost a little bit. But I think at the end of the day, he was the corner prospect that if you wanted to come out with the best corner prospect in this draft and you wanted to do it early, it was Mansoor Delane. Although I do believe there were corners of, like pockets of corners in that 3rd, 4th, 5th round.
Yeah, well, this pick got totally mixed reviews from not just fans, but also analysts. And I think ultimately, when I think about this, I'm looking at Mansoor Delane and I'm like, talent-wise, thumbs up. You got the most talented cornerback in the entire draft. But where I kind of give the is the process and maybe the value. Because
Right.
I like Mansoor Delane. I think he's a great corner. I think the talent's there. But was he worth a sixth overall pick? And also, what's the process to get a corner that early with a deeper corner class? The right process? I think that's where I have some qualms about it. But let's move on to pick number 29, Mike. The Chiefs were lucky enough to have the best defensive tackle in the entire class fall to them at Peter Woods. We think that they were Caleb Banks guys all the way through and through, but he was taken earlier in the first round, earlier than you thought he should go. And the fact that he went above Peter Woods was pretty crazy. It's pretty telling on what people think of Caleb Banks' ceiling, but Peter Woods overall was our number one defensive tackle in this class, right? And I think it was great that they were able to get like an elite recruit, like a top. Some people had him as a top 10 to 15 talent in this draft, right? Just straight up. He fell a little bit, I think, due to his inconsistent play in 2025. If you watch a lot of his tape, you will see him pulling some Houdinis from time to time. But I think it adds depth and future insurance for Chris Jones on the defensive line. And he's got super high upside. He's a developmental pick. He fits into our system very strongly, and I really like this pick. It almost made me feel a little bit better about taking Mansoor Delane in the top 10.
Chiefs Kingdom, we have officially partnered with Prize Picks, America's #1 sports picks app. Prize Picks is a daily fantasy sports platform. It's distinctly separate from a traditional sports book, and it's the absolute best way to add some extra heat to every single game. The app is incredibly easy to use. You aren't playing against sharks. You're just picking more or less on an individual player projection. Think Kenneth Walker's total rushing yards per game, more or less. Travis Kelce's total touchdowns in 2026, only 4, more or less. You just pick at least 2 players, lock in your lineup, and you're in the action. Prize Picks is available in most states, including California, Texas, Florida, and right here in the heart of America, Missouri and Kansas. One thing we love is the new public feed. You can actually find and follow us directly on the app at All Chiefed Up. You'll be able to see our live lineups and tell our picks before we even post them here on the channel or our other social media platforms. So if you haven't joined yet, just download the app and use code HMA when you sign up. When you play your first $5 lineup, you're going to get $50 in lineups instantly. Click the link in the description, use code HMA, and remember to always play responsibly. Now back to the show. We didn't have to jump nobody. We couldn't really move up. We didn't have a lot of draft capital at this point. We had to hold at 29. And I think they got a hell of a football player here. He was the number 19 player on my big board. So the Chiefs have officially got the number 10 player and the number 19 player. They got 2 top 20 picks out of the first round of the draft. I don't think you can be mad at that. He was my DT number 1. He was above Caden McDonald, who didn't even go in the first round, which surprised me. He was above Caleb Banks, which that surprised me a lot. He was above Christian Miller for me at the end of the day. So I think, look, he was on the freaks list. He's a certified monster. That, yes, he did have a little bit of a down year in 2025, but I think it was a little Chris Jones kind of thing where he was being shown a lot more attention, and he just didn't have a lot of help. Even though I will say TJ Parker had a decent year, but he fell out of the first round. So maybe it wasn't much of an impact as you thought. He's a bowling ball of steak and knives, basically, is what he is coming off the line. He's played everywhere from the nose to the wide 9. He's got rare explosive, heavy hands. He controls the point of attack. He's got special teams experience too, so that helps. Now, he did have some minor leg injuries dating all the way back to high school. He's got a little bit of shorter arms. He kind of fell into the Ruben Bain category with the short arms. And then he will miss tackles every once in a while. He plays so quick and he plays so erratic and so high speed. He wants to come bust that ass. That's what he wants to do. That's gave him 18% career missed tackle rate there. So, look, Andy Reid said it himself. He said he gives you that quickness. You could say Aaron Donaldy. He's not Aaron Donald yet, but he goes on to say that's a good challenge for him. He has the ability inside. It's the shortest distance to the QB are those dudes right in there. And I believe that's what they want. They want somebody to help Chris Jones eat up space, be a disruptor, collapse the pocket from the inside out, and allow those edge rushers like Karlaftis to clean up the mess. Now you got to find you an edge rusher in day 2.
Absolutely. Guys, time for some real talk. My overall take from day one. I think the theme was obviously defense, 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 because that's what they did. But here's what I say about it. You came out of round one with a potential CB1 in Delane. You have a high upside defensive tackle in Peter Woods. This is what the Chiefs did well today, Mike. They got a legit shutdown corner, which was a huge need for the team. They added premium defensive talent at 2 spots, and they really leaned into the Spags' defensive identity. So they kind of hit the nail on the head with those. The question marks for me in round one is the fact that they gave up capital to move up, and it wasn't cheap. Was not a fan of that. Number 2, probably the main thing that I kind of irked me a little bit is the fact that they ignored offense again. They had an opportunity to take the best wide receiver in the draft, to give Patrick Mahomes, Jordan Tyson, or they could have even got a really good offensive lineman to fill in over at that right side where there are some question marks at this time. And I don't think that the team even is that sold on Jalen Moore or Asa Pole being the right tackle, but they didn't address it. So I think that has to be brought up. They're banking heavily on Delane being worth that trade. So I think if you go into the future and Delane doesn't end up being a CB1 in this league or being a top 5 corner in this league, then it's not going to look that great. I think overall, Mike, talent-wise, I give the Chiefs an A for what they were able to do because the talent of Delane and the talent of Woods is tremendous. I think the value and the strategy to me is kind of where it gets a little rocky. I'd probably give that a C+. I don't like the way that they decided to attack this, but there are a bunch of different ways to skin a cat. We know this. Maybe they just have a different idea and they are the professionals and I'm just a little old me. But I think overall, I'm going to give it a B to a B- range for an overall grade for round one for the Kansas City Chiefs. What did you think about it?
I'm going to give it a B+. I think it's a good draft because you ended up with 2 top 20 players. You ended up with your number 1 corner, your number 1 defensive tackle. Now, look, I thought edge rusher, passing up guys like Reuben Bain and Tyson, you kind of get a little bit of a knock there. That knocks it down from maybe like an A+ to an A. Then the fact that you had to give up 2 picks, the third really hurts, but the 3rd and the 5th, to me, that knocks it down to like the B+. I don't think you can give an A because you had to give up so much just to get a guy that I thought could have fell to 9. I think going into day 2, the Chiefs got to look to get a defensive end. So Parker's still on the board. Zion Young's still on the board. Gabe Atkins is still on the board. I'm looking for one of them at 40. If they decide to go offense, I would love them to maybe take Jeremy Bernard, a Chris Bell, or maybe even Eli Stowers. I know people don't love the tight end, and they might not like Stowers, but I think he's a nice weapon. Right. If you want to go outside the box a little bit, you can go back to Chris Brazel, who had a top 30. He's 6'4", 200 pounds. He can definitely play that speedster and that X. And then if you want to go back to the secondary yet again, I know they might like Tre'Davious Stukes, slide him in the slot with Noah Williams and Mansour Delane on the outside. It ain't nobody competing.
Or Jermod McCoy falling. They might decide that's too much value there. They really could attack cornerback again. I don't see it being that early after taking Mansour Delane because there are a lot of good cornerbacks later in this draft. But Veach has a chance to redeem himself from anything that you did not like about trading up to get Mansour Delane, because at the end of the day, if you were told, hey, you're going to have the best corner in the draft and the best defensive tackle in the draft at the end of day 1, you cannot be mad at that. Now you have the rest of the draft to attack the other positions of need. If he can figure out tackle, which I think is going to be the biggest struggle, if he can address edge rusher, if he can address another cornerback, maybe even get some offensive weapons in here somehow, some way, I think Brett Veach has a chance to knock this draft out of the park, but he better swing big, because if he doesn't, there's going to be a lot of people upset with how this draft turned out.
Absolutely, man. I think he did a good job. I'm not going to say he did a great job, but so far, for me, when we had dinner yesterday and we talked about this, I said there was one guy that I would love to come out of the first round with, and that was Peter Woods, and the Chiefs got that. So I'm completely happy.
Let's go, baby. Appreciate y'all being here. If you found any value in the video or you just want to help us out, hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and come hang out with us today at 6 p.m. Eastern time as we kick off rounds 2 and 3 of the NFL draft. We're live streaming the whole thing, and we had a hell of a time last night. So come join us, get in the chat. Go Chiefs, baby.